Okay, it looks like we are live right now. So I'm going to talk about ribs today. So I have a rack of, let's see if I can get this lower, had it adjusted. So I've got pork back ribs here, and that's what we're having for Sunday supper. Now, I know everybody loves to do their back ribs on the smoker, but I just wanted to let you know there are other ways to do back ribs besides smoking them. One option is to do them on the barbecue, which is still one of my preferred ways of doing. I need a fork to take this lovely, ugly, fatty skin off the back of this, as you can see. And there's a few ways to do it. And then you can also do them in the oven. So if it's a cool winter day or if it's super windy, which it is on the windy side today, I'm not sure that where I'm going to be putting these ribs yet. So right now what I'm trying to do is find the skin on the back of these ribs. It's called a membrane. And see if I can grab a hold of it either with my fork. And sometimes there's not much of a membrane on them, but there is always some fat. And I know some people love lots of fat. I don't really. So I'm just going to trim away a little bit of this fat. The fat does make it tastier, as we know. Something else when you're doing back ribs, lots of people wonder how to do them, and there's various ways. Some people say boil them, get rid of the fat, boil them. But when you boil them in water for a half hour, so you're actually taking away all the flavor out of your ribs. So that's actually not an ideal way to do ribs, is to get them to tenderize them and get rid of the fat, is to boil them. It just, yeah, you're not going to have much flavor left, and you do want the flavor of the pork. So as I said, usually these will have a membrane on them, but I got lucky today and I don't have to pull the skin off the back. If I had, I was going to use a fork, and you can kind of just grab a hold of it then and peel it away, or often a paper towel. Once you get a hold of it with the paper towel, you can pull it away that way too. The recipe I have is, I found, and I have of course tweaked it a little bit over time to make it mine, you might say. I have developed my own spice recipe. My fingers are ucky. Anyway, it's called Merle's Best Barbecue Rub. And it is very, very good. And there is also a homemade barbecue sauce that goes with this recipe. And I've tried lots of the other ones on the shelf if I don't feel like making the barbecue sauce. But the sauce is it really does add to the flavor of the ribs. It is much nicer when I use the homemade barbecue sauce. Now, if you're interested in the barbecue sauce and the recipe, yes, it is available on my website, merleyanskitchen.com. Send me an email, and depending where you live will depend on shipping, of course. But basically, I can ship out, and you do get the full recipe with it. It's all printed out, nice and easy to read, and all the explanation on how to do things. I make sure that the instructions are easy to read for anybody, that you don't have to read between the lines when you're using one of my recipes that I've developed for my website. So if you want a copy of it and you want the rib recipe, go to my website, send me an email, Merle's Kitchen. Actually, the email is just merleann@gmail.com, but if you go to the website, you'll see it there. Send me an email and I will get you the jars themselves. The bottle of spice runs at $6.95 Canadian, even. Canadian, folks, not USA, Canadian, because that's where I am. I'm in beautiful Canada right now. So I have most of the fat off of these. Just going to hold that up for you. And my next step is I'm going to lightly grease it with olive oil. And it doesn't need much, because I had them out sitting at room temperature. And I did that so that the spice will stick that much. And it just takes it, marinate into it, and the spices will sit nicer on the ribs. You don't always have to do both sides, but over the years I've decided I prefer to do both sides when I'm cooking. So just gonna hold this up. And we're just going to move these a little bit for you. All the lovely fat, yuck, yuck, yuck. Put these here. Okay. So now we have, I believe you can see that fairly well. And I'm just going to gently sprinkle the rub on the ribs. And this is the back side. The fatty side is the back side. And the reason you want to take the membrane off is so that they don't curl when you're cooking them. But like I say, in this case, I got lucky. The membrane wasn't even there today. So I've done a generous sprinkle. And I'm going to let this sit 15, 20 minutes. I usually just set a timer and go do some other things in the kitchen. So there you have it. The one side of the ribs has now been sprinkled with the best barbecue rib recipe there is, mine. And our next step, I'm going to do the other side. And then I haven't decided how I'm cooking them because it's windy out. And I've got a smoker, but that's usually the husband's job. He gets to do the smoking. So I am going to try and work with the barbecue today. I'm going to rearrange it on the deck so that it's not quite so windy. And if it is too windy, well, then I guess I'll be going, la-da. You always have an oven. So the next step will be the oven if I can't use my barbecue today. And it's a nice sunny day, so then I have to go outside and mow grass for a while. And these are just going to marinate, say 15 minutes, flip them over, and then they're going to go in the fridge just to sit for a couple hours so I'm kind of ready to eat. So have a great afternoon, everyone, and we'll be back with more rib talk in a while. Peace out.